He's still alive.
I fucking hope so.
This subject will one day wreak havoc across the entire universe. He cannot be allowed to live.
This wasn't how it was supposed to go. We were supposed to secure the package and be in and out clean. Instead, the whole thing's been one disaster after another. I should never have trusted you, Richtofen. Never!
You should trust me, Dempsey. You all should. This artifact has the power to contain and preserve the subject's soul. Your soul. But it can only be done after the moment of death. Just as you saw me do to my other self. It is the only way.
Wait! If someone's gotta take him out to save the universe, then it should be me that does it. Good to see you, Tank.
What you just watched makes the rest of this video pretty self-explanatory, I'm not gonna lie to you. Eisendrache may potentially be the most celebrated zombies map of all time, with its gameplay being content-rich and intriguing, its story seamlessly incorporating past events, and boasting revolutionary features. It's not too hard to see why the community at large adores this experience. But, before this video gets underway, there's something I need to mention. In the lead up to Cold War's launch, the guys over at the Call of Duty Zombies forum started a series called One Perfect Map. So, this video isn't the only one, but instead part of a community-wide collaborative event where you'll find a host of content creators discussing their favourite maps and what they mean to them. The links to the players can be found in the description of this video, and I hope you enjoy what each of the creators have to offer to the table. With that done, let's get into the Iron Dragons, shall we? Eisendrache's story is one that flows perfectly. From the map's intro we see a chase for Dempsey 1.0, involving bazookas and the destruction of a giant robot. From there our four premised heroes are forced to make the rest of the journey on foot and by gondola, where they're met with a horde of undead atop Eagle's Nest. Of course they have absolutely zero trouble dealing with them, but by then it's already too late. Dempsey has been sent via rocket to Griffin Station on the moon. The point of no return has been reached, and by now it should be incredibly clear to the player that Primus will do whatever it takes to get that test subject back. I feel that almost perfectly sums up Eisendrache as a map. It's the point of no return for our main four. It's a tipping point for whether or not they are or are not on board with the insane journey they started back in Origins, and the events of the map conclusively reveal the answer to be yes. On the topic of the larger themes at play in DE, let's focus on what Black Ops 3 is almost entirely about. Primus' journey in this game is one of decimating the past in order to forge a better future, and like you'll probably be able to guess by now, this map executes that idea in the clearest and most impactful way possible. The player themselves destroys Griffin Station, a location that holds an immense amount of significance within the story, are home to many key events within the original timeline. I believe that this destruction represents BO3's mission statement perfectly. From a meta perspective, the player is quite literally having to ignore any ties to the past in order to progress onwards, and by committing to these acts, they're allowed to move on, just as our characters are. Putting any and all deep analysis aside for a second, This map just has so many good memories associated with it for me personally. This was actually my first map that I ever had the pleasure of playing on day one, and I remember bunking off of school to jump into this one. That's how excited I was. Even from the start, I could tell this one was going to be a classic. Hearing that chilling round change music, seeing the rocket taking off from the moon, and grabbing that tram fuse felt like second nature back then, but the sense of discovery I remember feeling has stuck with me to this day. Eisendrache was a map of even more firsts for me, which also included my first ever Easter egg. I remember that boss fight breaking my balls back then, failing on the first attempt but still pumped, full of adrenaline to try again the next day. It's experiences like the ones I've mentioned that keep me coming back to the Iron Dragon, and hell, even zombies as a whole. I go into every map now expecting something fresh and inspiring, and when Treyarch fail on that front, it's crushing. But every now and then, I'm reminded of why they're the kings of zombies. Dead of the Night, Ancient Evil, and Tag the Totem, all representing times when that same spark in life has hit me. But all of that would be impossible without Eisendrache's lasting impression way back when. Diving back into that nostalgia well, I have so many great memories associated with this map from experience with my friends. Every game without fail, we're all rushed to that first tram fuse, even if it doesn't do much. Every game, someone will call dibs on the Stormbow. Yes, I'm thinking of you, Jack.
Funny!
That was the worst joke you've told today.
And every game you'll be able to hear someone absolutely shitting themselves when the panther spawns next to them. And that's just the casual games we play together. Not even getting into the Easter egg and everyone doing call-outs for the whiff step, begging someone to train the last zombie while I play Simon Says, and getting everyone to slam down their DG4s to start the boss fight. I can go on for ages about all the different memories I have, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to some of these, but my point here is that Eisendrache is endlessly entertaining with a group of friends, and that just bolsters the love I have for it to a level beyond any other map. Being far deeper into the game mode than my mates, it's fantastic to have a map that I know we'll all have a good time on, no matter what we're up to. Let's shift gears to what the majority of the community would have you believe is important, the gameplay. Eisendrache's gameplay flows just as seamlessly as its narrative and quest. The player is constantly finding new features across the map, from the second that they spawn in. Starting off with the aforementioned tram fuse and the Wonder Sphere links, a few doors later they'll find a Cerberus-like dragon to feed, and a few doors after that the ancient tombs of the keepers in an anti-gravity arena. This not only adds to the lore, but actively engages even the most casual fans, giving them something new to work towards on a consistent basis for the first 10 rounds or so, which is exactly the balance that every zombies map should strive for, introducing long-term fans and newcomers alike a reason to keep playing. The map is pretty spacious as well, giving players access to about 4 major training areas alongside the dozens of camping spots available. Now, one of the aforementioned training spots is home to the rocket test site, where periodically the area will be closed off as 935 let their latest edition in Transport and Destruction start a deadly inferno that will kill the player if they don't hide or flee the area. Despite the danger, the area actually contains a fair few goodies that will assist the player during the map, from the Firebow quest step, Void Bow quest step, Lightning Bow quest step, as well as the Wolf Bow quest step. Barring the more in-depth features, this area actually contains the Pack-a-Punch piece, as well as a part for the Ragnarok DG4 specialist. This ensures that, despite the dangers of the area, the player is constantly having to go there, be that for quests or for basic in-game items. On the topic of basic in-game items, I am so glad that Treyarch managed to make Pack-a-Punch easy to access in this map. Given how much of a shit show it was on Shadows, it's great that the introductory map of the season features an easy to access Pack-a-Punch, using the JrRizzo patented press 3 buttons to unlock method. Eisendrache's fast travel mechanics are fantastic too, with the tried and true teleporter being featured alongside the new Wonder Spheres, devices that will fling the player across the map, even being incorporated into some of the quest steps. So far, you may or may not have noticed that I've omitted one of Eisendrache's most notable gameplay features, and that's because, I'm not gonna lie, they completely make the map. That feature being the bows. The bows are a genius bit of gameplay design on Treyarch's front. There's 4 in total, each one fitting to a different playstyle and each one having their own unique effects and puzzle to acquire them. Sound familiar? See, even if you're a casual fan of zombies, you're bound to have seen this concept played out before in Origins. But here's where I find the bows to be genius. They take exactly what made the staff so cool and cut out all of the fat that would stop casuals from getting to use them. Eisendrache is a lot more streamlined compared to its older brother Origins, and as such, the puzzles and general gameplay mechanics are a lot more streamlined to make having fun less of a chore and more of an event. Each bow has incredibly fun steps to get them, and each, with the obvious exception of soul boxes, have unique steps, setting them apart from their Origins counterparts, which revolved around one puzzle step, one practical step, and one soul box in order to upgrade them. And woo, lads, those fucking upgrades. Each bow serves a specific role in Eisendrache, and each one, up until the early 40s, does that specific job damn well. You want to train? The Wolf and Magma bow have got you covered. You want to camp? The Storm bow's got your back there. And if you want a bit of both, that's where the Void bow comes in. The bows also improve upon the ideas of Origins by giving each bow a sense of spectacle, from the narratives told by the Void and Wolf bows to the environmental changes caused by the Magma and Storm. The individual identity of the bows is only further enhanced compared to the staffs because of this. That's what makes the bows so genius. Not just the relatively low barrier for entry, but the utility and interactivity each one possesses. I mentioned earlier that Eisendrache is a map of many firsts for me personally, but beyond my sentimental attachments, it's also got a huge first in the gameplay department. Eisendrache is the first Zombies map with a proper boss fight. After sending it to the moon, the Keeper returns. However, due to the influence of the MPD and 935 firing upon the creature, it comes back twisted and deformed. Primus will have one last hurdle to overcome before their capture of Dempsey's soul. That hurdle being the Keeper boss fight. Man, what a fight. Being initiated by a synchronised slam from you and your teammates' DG4s, the intensity is instantly felt. Brian Tuohy's kick-ass score comes in and really drives you forward throughout the whole fight, setting the mood completely as you see this giant Keeper send flying skulls, hordes of zombies, raising chunks of magma to block your path, and commanding dogs to come after you. You know that you're going to have to be on your toes during the entire encounter, and with a couple Panzer Soldats thrown in for good measure, the tension the player feels is only exacerbated. The enemy pool and hazards used here aren't too large in terms of density, but it does sell that cinematic flair perfectly with its variety, and that is all that it needed to do to be an engaging first boss fight for Zombies players. It's a small detail, I know, but I especially love how the player has to completely lay into the Keeper's chest when it's exposed to do damage. Telling everyone in the party to spam R2 with their bows is absolutely iconic, and just adds that intense feeling I described earlier. Until finally, you send that Keeper spinning on phase 3, and have that rush of relief flood over you. Here we're brought back to what makes Eisendrache so special. It's a map that gives the player agency on a consistent basis, always feeling like they're the ones driving everything forward, not by obligation, but out of choice. And unlike some other, let's say, lesser Zombies maps,
God, crazy!
wherein which the player's hand is forced to engage in a cinematic spectacle, Eisendrache has it bubbling, just underneath the surface, waiting for the player to reveal it. It's an incredibly fine line to walk from the guys over at Treyarch, but it is one hell of a treat when they nail it. Eisendrache is a masterclass effort from Treyarch on almost every technical level, and my personal favourite map of all time. The story of Primus's tipping point is incredibly effective at building momentum for the rest of the season. The gameplay mechanics bring a layer of familiarity whilst also perfecting what's been done prior, and of course most prominently, the introduction of an Easter egg concluding boss fight proved to be an integral innovation, being a staple in almost every single map Treyarch has produced since. However, all of that would be meaningless if I personally didn't like Eisendrache, which, as you can probably gather by now, is not the case at all. Be it my many firsts with this map, the good memories learning its quirks and features, or my many games with friends getting just as invested in the match as me. DE is a map that I have a stupidly powerful connection to on an emotional level. It's the map I've certainly played the most, and it's the only one where I can fully share my enjoyment with all of my friends. And that is what makes Eisendrache special. That is what makes Eisendrache one perfect map.